Yeah, yeah, yeah. Shark in the gun, got the knowledge for the college. Football show breaks down the odds like scholars. 3-unit bangers, stack of cheddar like towers. Ride the wave, the fame flex in the midnight hours. 9 words of lifestyle, spitting flames, no pity. Dominate the board like kings, ruling the city. Sports, gamble, and hustle. Money moves so gritty, cashing tickets every Friday. Life looking pretty, ride the wave. Feel the rush, hit the game. Shark in the gun, setting fire to the name. 3-unit banging, stack of chips, no shame. Friday night sports kings claiming that fame. Analyze stats, break bread, no sweat. 3-point spreads, risk life, major bet. Cash in pockets, feel.
On a suddenly not so casual Thursday in January, it is the biggest game of the year, the biggest game in Notre Dame history since the turn of the century. It is the Shark, it is the Gun, it is CFP Knowledge for College Playoff Edition, Round 3, the semifinals in North Florida. I am hyped, Guns is hyped, he's a fan, we got plays, GunzPicks, what's going on, brother?
Man, oh man, I can't wait for this game. This is the culmination of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish season. This gets them into the national championship, and they could be facing Texas, or they could be facing Ohio State, but they have to go against Penn State here tonight, and this is going to be an electric game, and I am praying and hoping that the Echoes are a-calling there in Miami today. Shark, I'm ready to break down the game. I'm ready to watch this game. Let's go.
Absolutely. Let some people file into the chat. Come in here, drop your comments. We know people have both sides of this game. We're going to try to integrate some of your comments as this is an extremely high level of debate going on here. But not waiting around. 7 o'clock, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. The Orange Bowl. Maybe not Orange Bowl field tonight in Florida. It is in the mid-50s. Probably fitting for this game. South Bend, Indiana. Central Pennsylvania, traveling here. I know the fans are down here. Everybody's ready to go. No bigger fan on earth, as far as I know, of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish than the Gun. The hat is on. The helmet is in the background. It is golden. We want a golden night tonight for the Irish. GunzPicks, the first official of this broadcast and the semifinal round. Notre Dame, money line, -108.
I'll tell you what happened to Marcus Freeman during that press conference, he better fuel that team to get them ready. I love bulletin board material, and that has to be bulletin board material. Telling him he has to join a conference, he ain't in charge of that. But let's talk about this game here for Notre Dame versus Penn State at the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida. 7:30 p.m. is the kick here on Thursday, and let's do this right. You got to know what Penn State does, right? They run the ball. They're used, and they utilize that to get into the passing game, right? They're 18th in rushing yards per play, 16th in rushing yards per game. They have a two-pronged attack in the backfield. But Notre Dame's defense has done well at the run this year, even though they're only 21st in opposing rushing yards per play and 32nd in opposing rush yards per game. A few outliers were in that sample size, including Army and Navy. They run the ball 50 to 60 times a game, and they ran for over 200 yards in that game. But that's going to happen when you're going against a triple option offense. And in the playoffs, you look at Notre Dame's rush defense. They held Indiana to 63 rushing yards. They average 151.9 rushing yards per game. And then they went against Georgia, and they held them to 62 rushing yards. They average 121.3 rushing yards per game. And if they want to pass the ball, where Penn State will try to do in this game and stretch out that defense, Notre Dame's pass defense is one of the best in the country. They're first in opposing pass completion percentage, third in opposing pass yards per play, fourth in opposing pass yards per game, fifth in opposing INT thrown percentage, and 23rd in QB sack percentage. And actually, this team has gotten to the quarterback efficiently in their last 2 games. And you got to look at Penn State. They played Boise and they played SMU in the playoffs so far. Those were the biggest wins all year. Their success has been their ability to create turnovers. Penn State had a +2 turnover ratio versus SMU, getting 3 INTs and 2 defensive touchdowns in that game, and they won by margin. Then Penn State had a +3 turnover ratio versus Boise, getting 3 INTs and a fumble in that game. But you got to look at these teams. They are susceptible of turnovers. SMU is ranked 112th in giveaways per game, and then you have Boise that's ranked 18th in giveaways per game, but they face one of the softest schedules in the college football playoff. Notre Dame is a team that doesn't make mistakes. especially in the turnover department. They're second in turnover margin per game, and they're 12th in INT thrown percentage. Riley Leonard has only thrown 6 INTs this season. Also, everybody questions Notre Dame's strength of schedule, but looking into Penn State, I mean, who have they really played of relevance this year? Outside of the college football playoff, Penn State's biggest wins were Illinois and Minnesota. Penn State is ranked 13th in combined opposing wins, where Notre Dame is ranked second in that category. So more the wins that they had, their teams won more. So Notre Dame was second in the country in that. Then you got to look at Penn State's toughest games, all as a dog, OSU, Oregon, and who are playoff teams, and they lost by 7 and 8 in those games. So this is a team, when there's a step up in class, they crumble like a cheap suit. Then Notre Dame covering rate, 12 out of the last 14 games they've covered, and they've also covered 10 straight. Only non-covers were against MAC teams. We talked about it the last game. Also, Notre Dame is 7-1 ATS when the total is 45-47. And then Penn State has covered 6 out of the last 12. Penn State is only covered as a favorite of 6 points or more this season, folks. And they're 0-3 as a dog or as a favorite of less than 6 points this year. I just think this is an absolute domination here by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish here. Also, their best pass rusher, Abdul Carter, has a shoulder issue. He is going to play in that game. However, what is he going to do in that game? I think he is really hurt in this one. I think that shoulder is going to affect him, especially against the left tackle and the right tackle on the offensive line. I don't care where they move him on the field. This is going to be a Notre Dame win, and we're going to see my Irish in the national championship game. So give me Notre Dame all the way, baby. Play my fight song.
Original.
Notre Dame, money line, minus 108. Play.
Complete alignment. You said most of it. I'll just jump off it for emphasis. I have not looked at a game in recent history in college football that showcases this much polarization in ATS efficiency in 3 specific categories: overall efficiency against ranked opponents and as a favorite versus a dog. As you said, Notre Dame 13-1 straight up, 11-3 ATS. Okay, 6-0 ATS against ranked opponents, 5-0 as a favorite. Go to the other side of this. Penn State basically the same straight up record, 13-2. Not 11-3 ATS, 8-7 ATS. Not performing well against the number. Some really unimpressive efforts this year. 2-3 ATS versus ranked opponents, underperforming in this market, and 0-2 ATS as a dog. And really the only 2 games I think you can compare to this one on the Penn State schedule were the Ohio State home game and the Big Ten championship against Oregon. +3.5, +3, both non-covers. Non-covers as a dog on average by 4.25 points per game. On that average point, that would give you Notre Dame to win this game on the average by 5.75 points. So right around 6. And that's where I have this game graded, Notre Dame to win 6. And Guns, as you mentioned, Penn State in this playoff has not been challenged at all. SMU, home favorite in Happy Valley in the freezing cold. Doesn't get that much any easier than that against a team from Texas. Just hammered them down on December 21st, 38-10. And then in the quarterfinals, Boise State. I mean, no shade to Boise State. They had a great year. I mean, Ashton Genty's a hell of a product, but it wasn't really close. They were out early and often the whole game, cover 31-14, -11. So you go from -11 in round 2 to +1.5 in round 3. Forget Notre Dame, forget Penn State. Just think about the actual scaling of the numbers there. One round should not theoretically flip the strength and the weighting by 12.5 points. And it does. It's incredibly strong for Notre Dame. And you want to talk about the history of this matchup. I got to say, we are not data abundant here. These teams have not played since 2 games, 2006 and 2007. Before that, it was 1992. I'm not entirely sure why they played in 06 and 07. It was actually Brady Quinn's senior season before he went to the NFL draft. and it was Anthony Morelli. I would look it up before 1985. That's when I was born. I see my guy Anthony Morelli, and of course Brady Quinn. But that was our years of college. They haven't played since I was in fucking college. I mean, Guns, why did they play 2 games back then? Do you have any idea?
I remember the Brady Quinn one. That's the one that I remember. That was like 06, you said, right? So that was that year.
Week 2.
I remember watching that one. That was the year that they went and they played LSU in the bowl game. That was a good year for Brady Quinn. I think that might have been. Was that before? Yeah, that was before Brian Kelly. That might have been year 1 Weiss at that point. Yeah, they just hadn't signed. It's just one of those things. They just had some one-off games that they throw into the schedule sometimes. And they used to be like a really nice rivalry. It kind of went away around the 80s, late 80s or something, or actually before that. They just hadn't played 92. Each other. In those 92. 92. So that was. So I don't know why. Like usually you would play home and home. But who knows how they made the schedules back then?
This is what I couldn't figure out, and I was just trying to when I was researching before. They hadn't played since 92. Then they played 06, Brady Quinn versus Anthony Morelli, and then they played in 07. So they must have signed some sort of deal. We'll play 1 game in South.
That might have been the home and home right there,
and then come back the following year. And the following year was week 2, 2007, September the 8th, 2007. I think I was heading to Pink Elephant nightclub on that particular Saturday night, and it was Jimmy Clausen at Anthony Morelli. There, remember Jimmy Clausen?
I do, man. Touchdown, Jimmy Clausen, number 2 pick in the draft of the Panthers. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's funny. We're sitting here with Bryce Young. You go back to that year. The knowledge of the Shark and the Gun is far more than just research. We have databases of historical information on these shows.
That guy could score touchdowns 75% of the time, but that defense couldn't stop anybody. That was the problem with Notre Dame that year with Clausen.
Yeah, that particular game, they lost 31-10 in Happy Valley. So you haven't played since 2007. We can't cross-reference data here. It has to be all the schedule scaling and environmental analysis we just dropped for you. I do want to talk the total. However, I think, Guns, you're looking at one side of the total. What's going on here?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the under on this one. When you just go back to where these teams are, they're great in opposing scoring. One's 5th, one's 2nd. The total is sitting here at 45.5 in a lot of the key books. I'm seeing 45.5 on the board right now. Penn State is 6-1 to the under when the total is below 50 this year, and this is the second lowest total that Penn State has seen all season, which is kind of remarkable considering they're going to be in a pretty comfortable track here in Miami. Weather conditions look to be fine in this game. Probably, you never know with Miami. Florida, it always changes, as you know, Shark, living out in that way. It could rain on you any minute. But then you got Notre Dame as like the under versus ranked opponents has been apparent. 3-1 to the under in those spots. And 3 out of the 4 of those totals have been between 45 and 46. So the line's kind of set in that same direction of where they hit unders in a lot of the cases. Also, look at how Notre Dame has done versus ranked opponents this year. They've held them to 13.5 points per game. So don't sleep on this Notre Dame team. I know the market is saying, oh, the sharp angle is doing this. And, the syndicates are coming in here and taking Penn State numbers. I'm like, I don't care. I look at the numbers, and this is what I'm seeing in this one. But I also like the under in this game. I think it's going to be a good defensive battle here between 2 teams. And I just, if it comes down to, when I look at the teams from both sides, I think they're very identical. But the one advantage that Notre Dame has more than anything, actually 2, special teams and the head coach. I think Marcus Freeman is a lot better than James Franklin.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back to the previous round when Notre Dame beat Georgia. That was what you said. I mean, it was more just situational football. They won the turnover battle, and they just executed in small windows better. And I mean, I was sitting here telling you how soft Penn State's route to this game was. I mean, if you look at Notre Dame, I mean, it's more or less the polar opposite in terms of degree of difficulty. I mean, you got to go back to the first round, December the 20th, just a blowout of Indiana. I mean, and Indiana was like the darling all year. Curt Cignetti, I mean, Guns, you bet him almost every week. I mean, the guy has totally made that program into, I mean, the highest level it's ever been. And Notre Dame just thrashed them. I mean, it wasn't even close. The final score, 27-17, does not tell the story of that game.
No, they gave up 2 garbage touchdowns at the end of the fourth quarter. They were out of it.
Not even close. Yeah, it was 27-3, like with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And then you go back to the quarterfinals on January 2nd against Georgia. I mean, Georgia was number 2 in the country. You know, this is an ex-national champion, high pedigree, SEC, everything. 23-10. I mean, you talk about quality of opponent. It's not even close. And, final point on this, as you mentioned, Marcus Freeman, you followed him in much more detail than I have, obviously, in the last few years, coming off of Brian Kelly as a fan. But, I mean, I have keyed into this guy recently in terms of his energy. And you guys who watch, NFL, The Extra Points, and, of course, Knowledge for College, know we love to talk psychology. It really is the source of energy in these teams, and it matters beyond even a conversation. It's like the integral point of making a football team good, bad, or indifferent. This guy is an elite level motivator. And you bring him in, he's only, 34, 5?
38. He's 38.
When he got hired, though. When he got hired.
Yeah. Yes. When he got hired, he was 35, I think.
Correct. So, I mean, you got to remember just like how young this guy is crossed with like other athletes. I mean, there's people that are playing sports that are 34 and they got another 4 or 5 years left in their career. Incredibly young. He's like a player coach almost. And you put that on a college program with these young kids, it's just the perfect mesh of energy and age. Not only that, but, you talk about how, technology and social media has skyrocketed the world and changed the world a lot. For a younger guy to really get in there and relate to them on that level, potentially, huge thing versus the old guard type of coaches. So it really is all over it. We've detailed it in immense detail. We appreciate you guys. We got 400 live viewers on X and a handful on YouTube. 17 and a half minutes in the books. The big game on this Thursday, Notre Dame in Florida. Let's dominate. A collaboration official. I'm on minus 135 midweek. It has gotten steamed, as Guns mentioned. Ultimately, in football, it seems like every time we drop a play and it moves the other direction, it is these syndicates.
Doesn't matter. We've won plays all year doing this.
Continuously.
Yeah.
And we would host any syndicate leader, better, whoever that wants to come on and tell us their angle. It's not personal. It's just conversation. It's debate, and it's a great thing. But I will say this. I firmly believe in how we handicap far more than loosely buying lines that are perceived to be stale or quote-unquote value. In fact, I think that buying stale lines that as it's perceived like that is incredibly loose and unresearched. So I would love to have a conversation. Maybe it would ruffle some feathers. I think those guys think that they know all. But the Shark and the Gun, we love to bring the conversation. We love to dominate. We appreciate you guys immensely. Sending you guys amazing vibes.
Hey, whoa. We ain't going to talk about Texas and Ohio State?
Tomorrow.
You want to talk about tomorrow? All right, we're going to come back tomorrow and do a show. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Friday night, the usual show, CFP Knowledge for College. We'll be back. It'll be happy hour. We'll be hyped. We want to let this one stand for itself. Let the gun dominate, and hopefully we get this dub for our bank accounts and the fandom. I'll be rooting for it for all those reasons. Collaboration official, Notre Dame on the money line. It is CFP Knowledge for College, CFP Playoff, Round 3, the semifinals, Part 1, Part 2 tomorrow night at 6 or 7 o'clock. GunzPicks, a pleasure as always. Close them out with some words, and let's dominate.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody that has been watching here on YouTube, whether you're watching on Shark Wars Nation or you're watching on the GunzPicks channel. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Hit the bell so you know when all notifications come on this channel. And check us out on X at GunzPicks, GunzPicks, and Sharks in Sports 88. You can go find us. If you haven't followed us on X, you might as well do so. And I'm on Instagram and TikTok and your sister's ass and I think MySpace still. Wherever you can find me on all social media platforms, that's where you can find me. And let's have ourselves a Notre Dame Thursday. And then I can come back even more fired up, waiting for my opponent next week, who could be. I hope it's Ohio State. You give me them all day long, but I got to get one win. Got to go against Penn State. So let's do it here today. Appreciate everybody that's joined us. Let's cash some tickets. Let's dominate double. And as always, go Irish. Let's keep dancing. Go. Okay.